Pro Wrestling Weekly presents Today in Wrestling History, October 27. On this date in 1990, WCW held its Halloween Havoc pay-per-view. In the main event, Sting defeated Sid Vicious to retain the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. On this date in 1991, WCW held its Halloween Havoc pay-per-view. In the main event, Lex Luger defeated Ron Simmons in a 2 out of 3 falls match to retain the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. On this date in 1996, yep, you guessed it, WCW held its Halloween Havoc pay-per-view. In the main event, Hollywood Hogan defeated Randy Savage to retain the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. This has been Today in Wrestling History, Halloween Havoc History, October 27.
You are listening to Pro Wrestling Weekly with Fearon Dairy.
Who better to endorse Halloween Havoc history than Eric Bischoff? Welcome back to Pro Wrestling Weekly here on 1490 WBCB, online at WBCB1490.com. The longest running wrestling talk show on terrestrial radio today, closing in on 14 years on the air. Crazy stuff, isn't it? Got to throw that out there every once in a while. Not as much as Cole does as far as the longest running episodic, whatever that nonsense is that he spews. Not quite up to 1,000 episodes yet, but I don't know. I'll have to collaborate with Eric, see how many exactly we're up to, but I do know exactly when it started. Just getting some factoids together, some numbers. That's kind of how we do. Anyway, before we get back to the phones, quick look at Hell in a Cell. My prediction's certain to go wrong. 6 matches so far set in the card. Will more than likely get a bonus one unadvertised, as they are wont to do. The only match not for a title, Randy Orton against Alberto Del Rio. It would make sense for Del Rio to kind of get a bit of a push here and be thrust a little bit closer as a threat, or at least seen as a credible threat, and the potential for a main event picture that's already kind of light on contenders, especially since we've seen Del Rio and Sheamus feud on SmackDown for months now. So where Del Rio goes from here, I'm not sure, and I think that's why Randy Orton is going to beat out Del Rio, even though logic would point in the other direction. Now looking at the 5 title matches, announced this week a triple threat match for the Divas title. Eve defending the Divas title against Layla and Caitlyn. I think Eve's going to retain here. Don't see a whole lot as far as title changes. Just, I don't know. Probably with Survivor Series coming up next month, it seems like that would be the time to make some semblance of a change in the push toward the Royal Rumble. But I've certainly been wrong before many a time, and this could certainly be one of them. Team Hell No. I'm still holding out for Team Friendship, but Team Hell No, Daniel Bryan and Kane against Rhodes Scholars, who beat Sin Cara and Rey Mysterio this past Monday to win the number 1 contenders tournament. They're going to face Rhodes Scholars. They're going to face Team Hell No. They're going to challenge for the tag titles, and I think because the writers can't get away from writing comedy and making Vince McMahon laugh, that means we're going to have more goofy skits like the Newly Team game, as we saw on Monday, which means that Team Hell No is still going to be your tag team champions. In a rematch from Main Event a couple weeks ago, where we saw The Miz lose the Intercontinental belt to Kofi Kingston, Kingston's given Miz the rematch, and I think he's going to retain, as Miz, for whatever reason, he just keeps on losing. Not sure why, but as long as both of these guys can look good coming out of it, that's all we can hope for, because there are a couple of guys who have really lost their way as far as much of anything. So title belt certainly wouldn't hurt, but it's all about creating new blood. Sheamus and the Big Show, world title. I think Sheamus is going to retain here. A lot of people think that this is where Dolph Ziggler is going to cash in that Money in the Bank contract, especially since he's not on the card anywhere, so he'd be fresh as opposed to having wrestled a match earlier. So while that would make sense, I don't know. I think Sheamus is going to hold on a couple months. It wouldn't surprise me if you saw Dolph Ziggler cash in maybe after a tables or a ladder match at the TLC pay-per-view coming up in December. But we're still a ways away from that. I could be wrong, and he could cash in tomorrow night. Who knows? And the one everybody's talking about, just because, again, it's new blood in the main event, thanks to John Cena's elbow surgery, CM Punk defending the WWE Championship in a Hell in a Cell match against Ryback. Now, it's Ryback's undefeated streak versus CM Punk's championship. I think Punk's going to retain here just because once you give Ryback the WWE title, what else is there to feed him? That's probably the big question. So he is going to continue to hunger for more and probably hunger for the WWE title, but I don't think he is going to get it on this night. How they're going to work around maybe keeping his undefeated streak, I don't know. Can you have a disqualification in a Hell in a Cell match? Anything can happen in the WWE, so perhaps that's the case. There might be some sort of interference or disqualification or some sort of a non-finish, maybe a double knockout, possibly. There's a number of possibilities, but regardless, I think Punk is going to retain at Hell in a Cell. There are the predictions certain to go wrong. Do with them what you will, but either way, enjoy the show tomorrow night as at least those of us here on the East Coast worry about a little bit of rain. Or at least I hear. I don't know. Here's Shane to tell you a little bit more about it.
Stand back. There's a hurricane coming through.
Just in case you didn't know. All right, let's get back to the phone. Steve's been waiting patiently. Steve from Bristol, welcome to Pro Wrestling Weekly.
How's it going, one-man gang?
That's what I feel like today, only a lot lighter. I'm maybe not even half his weight at this point.
Well, let's go injury reports. Cena's out, Triple H is out, and Undertaker is in no man's land, right?
Yeah, I mean, not to mention a bunch of countless others. I mean, Mark Henry, he's still on the shelf from the groin surgery. Evan Bourne, he's still recovering from that broken foot, but he's still kind of in the doghouse for the 2 violations of the wellness policy. So, I mean, there are a few injuries across the board, and I know I'm forgetting a couple.
Well, let me ask you something. Of all of them, Cena looks like the one will be able to heal first, right?
Well, we saw that with the torn pectoral muscle a few years ago. He was supposed to be out a year, and he was back in 3.5 months. So
he's not going to be the number 30 guy at Survivor Series, do you think?
You mean? Well, I was going to say that unless they're moving the Royal Rumble back 2 months, I don't think there's going to be 30. I don't even know if they're going to have a 5-on-5 team. Although, if the elbow's still bothering him, that's probably the best way to protect him is to put him in some sort of a team elimination match.
Yeah, he's not bringing anybody from Brock Lesnar is what? He only picks his shows now, or what?
Well, he's resigned, at least in storyline, but I know that a while back WWE signed him for a select number of dates, and I guess it's a 1-year contract with, I don't know, it could be 15 appearances, 20 appearances, so you know, kind of like timeouts in football, you don't want to waste those too early.
So he could be number 30 at Royal Rumble then. He could show up and just mess up WrestleMania a little bit.
Well, if that's the plan, but I don't think that they have Hell in a Cell figured out, let alone Survivor Series, Royal Rumble, or WrestleMania. So it's definitely a case of putting the cart before the horse.
Yeah. So Triple H, does he have one WrestleMania left in him, or you doubt it?
Especially since the money's there, and I'm sure that ego being what it is, he'll probably think that putting himself in a match, especially since he and Undertaker and Shawn Michaels stole the show last year, that there could be a run. But, do we want to see the Triple H Lesnar rematch? I don't know. So much time has elapsed.
You know the match I want to see, and you'll hang up on me, but I don't care. I want Triple H and The Rock in a cage. And the winner moves on until next year's WrestleMania, and the loser is never seen again.
You know, I think you're right. I'm going to have to hang up on you on that. No, that's mainly a time thing, though, Steve. But no, I don't think that as much as they want to kind of go with the older guys against each other, what benefit is there to have those two part-timers, especially since they said this past WrestleMania that was the end of an era. So I don't think you're going to see too many more Attitude Era guys against each other matchups. If anything, it's going to be developing new blood. I mean, people have been talking for a while about the possibility of Austin facing CM Punk. That's something that's been going back and forth on Twitter for a while, and of course that's been drummed up in the WWE 13 video game. So I don't see Triple H and The Rock necessarily. Both of them are set to come back, and there are a couple of issues that may keep The Rock out of WrestleMania, mostly the pushing back of that G.I. Joe movie to being released in March of 2013. So he's got to do the whole media circuit, the interviews and whatnot. So that means he's not going to be getting in the ring and training and getting ready for a match like he'd initially hoped he would, because he thought the movie was going to be released this past May, and they decided to push it back so they could release it in 3D coming up in March. So who knows what The Rock's status is, which is why he's announced himself for the Royal Rumble to challenge for the title. And we'll see. Maybe his commitments will be there. It's still kind of up in the air, and I think that's why he put himself at the Rumble, because his status for WrestleMania is uncertain. All right, let's get one more in here. Let's get John from Northeast Philly. I can only imagine what direction is going to be going here. John, welcome to the program.
It's not G.I. Bro now, is it?
Oh goodness, no, not G.I. Bro. No, let's keep Booker T out of this. That's one of the many characters from late WC. I think that on its own is a blooper in a sense.
It's like when Hogan came out with what was the superhero gimmick he was running? Mr.
America.
Yeah, it's pretty much on page with that, but with Booker, he wasn't even wearing a mask. It made no sense. Describing it doesn't help it.
Yeah, well, I think that was initially one of his characters earlier in his career, and they decided to go back to that kind of in a way that, Owen Hart was the Blue Blazer right before he had passed. I mean, they were kind of, I guess, going forward by looking back, or at least attempting to. But it blew up in Vince Russo's face, as did a lot of things in WCW in 99 and 2000.
Yeah, it's like going back to the future and then coming back from the future.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's a little too much past, present, and future mixing. It's starting to make my head hurt.
Well, see, WCW always had that issue, and that's why next week's show is going to be great, because that's where the majority of my my bloopers / botches come from. Here's one for you. Now, I know we're going to jump a little bit early, but you were talking about the cage match with Ryback and CM Punk. Mm-hmm. WCW had a cage match that was I think they did have a no disqualification rule in place, and then somebody wins by disqualification anyway.
Oh wow, yeah, I think I know which one you're talking about. I mean, they've had so many instances of, and I guess a botch in this case would qualify as a blooper, and I guess in that, because I wasn't sure, I was going to throw this out there because I didn't know if it qualified, but in a similar instance, the infamous Dean Malenko catch-can match. Which lasted all of about 30 seconds because the rule was you couldn't go to the outside of the ring, and Dean Malenko kind of forgot that and slid to the outside of the ring, and the match was over just like that.
Or that 3-story cage match and they didn't explain the rules?
Wait, which 3-story cage? The Ready to Rumble cage from 2000, or the whatever that triple cage was or the triple layer cage in 95 with Hogan and Savage against the Alliance to End Hulkamania.
Yeah, that one with Savage, not from the movie, but with Savage, and just hearing like Bobby Heenan, describing how to survive that just, get a chainsaw, get a flamethrower, do whatever, survive. I'm like, and then they left the ring, and Hogan's like, no, you got to pin him. I think that's how we win.
Yeah, nobody was really sure. It was just a matter of, all right, it's somehow Hogan and Savage have to survive this 8-on-2 onslaught. Which wasn't one of the people in that initially named for I don't know, something offensive, so they had to change the name. I'm gonna have to go back to that because I don't want to misquote, and B, I don't want to say something that might get me in trouble later. But apparently somebody wasn't paying attention to the Holocaust, and
oh yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, they kind of gave a wrestler a name that kind of alluded to something like that, and quickly changed it the next week. I forget if it was from Final to Ultimate or Ultimate to Final. I forget which, but either way, it was something not good. I'll have that all set up for next week. But yeah, it should be a fun topic. Some of the best bloopers, and some of them are promo related too. I already have. Well, I'm sure people can think of it out there just by mentioning some of the names. I've got one from Owen Hart, one from Sid Vicious. So you could probably go to a bunch of them on. I'll give my good buddy RD and Justin a plug over at WrestleCrap.com. They They do a great job over there at looking at the worst in professional wrestling, and usually in a laughable sense. So if you're having a bad day, that's a good place to go to kind of laugh off some of the stupidest things that we've all seen over the course of the last 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years in professional wrestling.
And since we're talking internet-related stuff, it's the end of the Z True Long Island story.
Yeah, they I guess WWE wanted to go in a different direction with it than Zack Ryder did.
Are they moving it to Brooklyn?
Why not? Everything else seems to be. They've got the Nets. They've got the Islanders are going there, and well, if they decide to ever play hockey again.
Yeah, I need hockey. See, that's the one thing that we can't say about Raw. At least you can watch it.
True. Yeah, there's they should play some of the old World Wrestling Federation, our season never ends, or we never go on strike, or anything like that, like they did with the 94 baseball work stoppage.
Yeah, or have like their little support the WWE, or their get the F out trailer. Support for a supposed strike that's just not happening.
I wonder what the Goon is doing. Maybe they can get him to kind of walk through the crowds like Abe Knuckleball Schwartz did during the baseball strikes. It's just,
it really, really bothers. But wrapping up, I know you're up against time. I think ultimately what's going to happen is every time John Cena, it seems to me, every time John Cena really endorses somebody, they either get over for a couple weeks or fall flat. And I could see similarities with Ryback and Ryder.
And Zack Ryder.
I kind of just see it. I just kind of see it falling a little bit flat. And hopefully tomorrow night a taser won't be involved.
Oh, gosh. If they go that route, you might be listening to the last pro wrestling. No, I wouldn't go that far. I don't think, no matter how bad things go, I don't think I could ever just be like, all right, I'm out, I'm done. I just don't think it would ever happen. It's kind of one of those things, no matter how much you may dislike it, you still love it. So you kind of have to put up with the good, bad, the ugly, and as JR would say, the bowling shoe ugly.
It's like hairband music.
Yeah, and that's a whole other discussion for another day. All right, thanks, John, for chiming in. Thanks, all of you, for listening and putting up with me, pushing the buttons and spinning the dials and whatnot. Stay tuned. I'll be filling in for Bill Melody on the Country Music Hall here on BCB.
1490 WBCB, Levittown, Fairless Hills, Trenton.
In USA News, I'm Sean Scott Ferguson. All tropical storm watches and warnings have been cancelled for Florida as Hurricane